You've got questions, we've got answers. Welcome to the Therapist Question Box, where trauma-trained therapists tackle real questions from real people. I'm your host, Lindsay, bringing you grounded insights you can actually use, brought to you by Therapy Utah. Welcome back to another episode of the Therapist Question Box. We are here to answer your mental health questions, relationship questions. Bring it to us. We are here and want to help you navigate some of these tough things. Today, we are here talking about mental health evaluations for immigrants. And there are, it can be a scary thing for immigrants to receive a mental health evaluation. So we're going to just start with the question. And today I have with me Kathy Kinghorn. Kathy, thanks for joining us.
Good to be here.
Always good to have you. So we're going to just launch in about the question, which is, I'm nervous about my immigration mental health evaluation. What can I expect?
That's a great question. We find that a lot of individuals, it really ranges on what their attorney tells them about this next step in the process. So generally speaking, people come through an attorney and the attorney asks them to, as part of the process, they'll need a mental health evaluation.
Okay, can I back up real quick?
Sure.
Okay, so why do we need to do an immigration mental health evaluation? Can we just start with that?
That's a great question. They're looking for, each type of visa has a different, people come to us with different needs with their visas. So a hardship visa might suggest that, or will suggest that a U.S. citizen will be in extreme hardship if their spouse is deported. For example, maybe a pregnant mom and he's the provider. That could cause extreme hardship for her. And so the U.S. citizen will apply for a hardship evaluation. Somebody that's been trafficked, whether it's labor trafficked or sex trafficking, they will also need a mental health evaluation just so that as their case is reviewed, they can see the hardships, not only that they went through maybe in an experience here with trafficking, but also if they were to be deported. If they went back, like, for example, China really discriminates against age. So if you're older than 35, you're not really eligible for many jobs. They have a very strong policy against hiring over 35.
Wow.
So just different things like that. They want to see how your life is impacted and where you're at mentally, emotionally, physically.
Okay. So really, we're evaluating where people are at after some of the hardships that they've gone through, which have brought them to the country.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Or here. Like, let's say they came under false pretenses. Somebody said, hey, I've got a job for you and it's terrific. You can start and I've got a place for you to live. And then they come and they're just physically or emotionally abused during that process. And so the hardship could have happened on U.S. soil, or they could be seeking asylum from persecution in their home country.
Okay. So lots of varieties of reasons why they would need one, but that they have decided and that's been decided. So who decides that they need one? Is that, you said, an attorney?
Well, it is part of the process. And generally speaking, 90% of our clients come through an attorney.
Okay.
Some try to do it on their own without an attorney. So an attorney isn't mandatory, but the mental health evaluation piece is mandatory.
Okay, good. So that's good to know that's where most of them come through an attorney, and there's parts of it that are not mandatory and parts that are. So to get clear about that. Okay. So when we hear this listener's question that they're nervous about the mental health evaluation, it makes sense.
Yeah.
When you hear evaluation, you hear mental health, it's like, are they going to think I'm crazy or some, is this going to be a reason that I'm going to get deported or whatever? So let's talk about that, about maybe it makes sense that that they could feel nervous.
Right. Because some lawyers just do a really great job of saying, hey, the next step in the process is to choose an evaluator and here's what they'll do. But all evaluators, just like all attorneys, are not created equal. And so what to expect really can vary. So at Therapy Utah, we know that when your case is being reviewed, they want to make sure that the mental health evaluator has a relationship with you. They know you. You didn't just come in for 1 hour and they threw out a report and said, here you go. So at a minimum, we see individuals at least 3 times.
Okay. And why is it that number?
Usually by the 3rd visit, we're able to get all of the information that we need. There's quite a few written assessments that we give to them. We start to hear more of their story. They feel the safety with us kind of improves. Sometimes we'll have 4 or 5 visits, depending on the complexity of it. But at least a minimum of 3 shows the people that are going to review your case that, okay, this evaluation is thorough. They got the level of detail they need, and I can trust it.
Okay. So what takes place in the evaluation?
One thing that can really surprise individuals that are applying is that it's so counterintuitive. They are strong. If they're coming here and they're trying to get the U.S. citizenship or even temporary ability to work, they've gone through things and they are tough and resilient. And a lot of times culturally, they're taught not to talk about hard things. So what happens in the evaluation is we actually need them to talk about the tough stuff. We actually need for them to share with us if your husband, who is married to a U.S. citizen, goes back to China, what will that be like for him there? Would you ever be able to visit him and feel safe, which is likely no. And so they really have to be really quite vulnerable and share just how hard the things have gone through in their life. And so it takes a bit of explaining to make sure that they understand we don't want you to show up and be like, hey, everything's great. It wasn't a problem that, he had me work 90 hours and I slept on a cement floor. That was okay for me. It's like, no.
Yes.
Not okay.
Right. So exposing that though and talking about it is really important. So being vulnerable and honest about their experience really matters.
It really does. And the reason you have a qualified therapist is because they're going to be sharing their trauma. They're going to be sharing trauma that recently I did an evaluation and the individual had never spoken to anyone of this particular trauma. And so they have to be in a safe place with somebody trained to walk them through how to ground after sharing your trauma, how to get centered, how to process it. And so it really is important to have a qualified trauma-informed therapist helping you through this process.
What would you say to people that are afraid? Like if I tell what has happened, maybe there's going to be repercussions and I'm afraid of that.
Yeah, that's interesting, Lindsay, because we just had that scenario. There's a type of visa called violence against women. And oftentimes people don't realize that men qualify for that visa as well. And so a gentleman came in and he had been severely traumatized, and he qualified for that. That victims, it's victims, crimes against women.
Okay.
But again, men qualify for that as well. And oftentimes the immigrant doesn't know that, and we're kind of walking them through that process. And so that trauma that he experienced, he had to share. And that's why, again, we believe it takes so many visits, because you're not just going to lay that out in an hour and go, okay, we're done. It takes time. It takes processing.
So with that, the law, and you said what's it called again? The
VAWA.
VAWA. Victims against
Violence against women.
Violence against women. So when that happens, are these people protected?
But that's their concern. And actually, back to your first question, yeah, that's the concern is like, well, if I share this, who's going to see it?
That's right.
You know, are they going to go to the person that perpetrated? And
that's right.
And so sometimes law enforcement is involved and that person is contacted, but they're not given all of the details of the evaluation. So it's not always that law enforcement's involved, but on those particular ones, they can be involved. Sex trafficking, they certainly can be involved in that.
So there's safety measures, because I think that at the end of the day, first thing is safety. People have to feel safe. Even if it's culturally, they don't talk about it or their trauma. If I don't feel safe, no thank you.
Right.
So we've got to make sure that these people feel safe and that there's things in place and systems in place that will help them to be safe. And I'm hearing that there's law enforcement, if they need to be involved, they can be as well. Yeah.
And it can be scary for them to consider, I don't want to be on law enforcement's radar for any reason. So it really, and they'll downplay it. Well, it wasn't so bad, but the honesty of it, and you lay it out there, truly law enforcement is there to help victims. And so it's important for us to help them understand why their lawyer may suggest, as it moves from us, it goes back to their lawyer, and why their lawyer might counsel them that, law enforcement needs to be involved.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. I'm really happy to hear that there's some of those in place, right? That makes a lot of sense, a lot of safety. So if someone was coming in next week and you knew that was their first time coming in, how would you prepare them for this?
Yeah, great question. I would say try to take really nice, slow, deep breaths and understand that we are here to help you in this very particular part of your journey, and that we really want to see who you are and what you've experienced. From a very non-judgmental position. We have just heard tragic stories that just make you weep, and just you're sitting there hearing the courage that individuals have taken, their resilience under pressure. And so just know at our clinic at Therapy Utah, we genuinely believe that we are supporting you through the process. We want you to be seen. We want you to be safe here. And as you can take those deep breaths, just kind of hopefully move your thoughts towards, Therapy Utah is there to help me. They're gonna walk with me through this part of the journey.
I love that. That's the intent, is to help. It's not to expose, but it is to help and to be a soft place to land, right? I love that reminder. So do you wish that clients understood a couple of things? One, it's not about understanding their worth. I think sometimes there's this feeling of like, I've been through this hard thing, so I'm maybe not as good as, or I'm not worthy to be here, whatever it is. What would you tell a client that's wondering and feeling that way?
I'd let them know it makes sense. It makes sense. There's so many different messages being shared, some being screamed, about this particular process, and it can really wear you down. You can step into that place of believing that I'm not enough or I'm not good enough. And the beauty of being in our office is that we see your courage. We see what it took to get here. And as they get more and more comfortable with us, again, that's why the multiple visits happen, they start to truly lean into that. And they can ask us any question they would like, anything. We are open to any questions they might have about the process, about the journey, and we just are here to help guide them.
I love that. To me, as I'm listening, it feels really compassionate. It feels caring. It feels like that's the purpose of this. It's not to expose. It's not to find fault. It's really just to help them have the best opportunity they can. Great. Is there anything that we have not talked about that feels important with this process and with this listener's question?
I guess I would just say that we at Therapy Utah, we truly took an enormous amount of time to have our clinicians very well trained in this particular part of the process, because this application, it's life changing one way or another. If it happens to not go through, or it changes your life, and if it does, it changes your life. And so we take it very seriously. We know what's at stake. We know that families stay together during this process if they have a well-written, informed evaluation. We've worked with lawyers, so we know what the evaluators that they're going to give this to, we know what they want to see. We know how to write in a way that speaks to what they've experienced, but also the way that an evaluator can really get the felt experience of that person. And so I would say that you want to take the time and the cost and come here where it's safe, where we can help you, where we believe in you, and where we want you to just live your best life.
Such a great reminder that the purpose here is to help. I mean, that's all I'm hearing is we want to be safe. It'll benefit you, and that we're here to help. I mean, that's really what it's for. And that the clinicians at Therapy Utah are trained to do just that. And I can attest to that. I've done some of that training with you and know the amount of time and effort that was taken to train all the clinicians here at Therapy Utah. So that's wonderful. As this listener wrote in, I thought, it's normal to get nervous. It's something that's new, and they've been through some really hard things. So it's normal to feel like I'm just kind of scared about this. But I really hope this conversation put some of those things to rest, that, this is a safe place and the process is safe and it's here to help. I mean, that is the purpose of it. It is not here to poke more holes or find more problems, but it is here because this can change their life, and to remember that. So,
yep, absolutely.
Thank you so much. And thank you for our listener who wrote in, a very honest and very, thoughtful and vulnerable question here, and really appreciate that. So thank you, Kathy, for your insights. And thank you for our listener who wrote in. And we hope this can be helpful for those of you that are experiencing this, or that have a family member or friend that may need to do an immigration evaluation. And we hope that you will share this with those that may have this need in their life. And we appreciate you joining us. And until next time, take care. That's a wrap for today on the Therapist Question Box. I'm Lindsay Schiss. Thanks for listening. And remember, every question you ask is an opportunity to learn and grow. Brought to you by Therapy Utah.
Hey, this is Kathy Kinghorn. I'm an owner at Therapy Utah. If you'd like to book with one of our trauma-trained therapists, go to www.therapyutah.org. Thanks for listening.